This is Right to Life Radio with John Girardi on Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400, a production of the Right to Life of Central California. And now, here's your host, John Girardi.
We talked about DNC Convention Week. Now we're going to talk about RNC Convention Week. You're listening to Right to Life Radio, a production, as always, of Right to Life of Central California, rtlcc.org. If you want to learn more about us and what we do, joining me to talk about it, the guy who's actually watched any amount of the RNC, and thus has watched more than me, is Jonathan Keller.
Howdy, howdy.
Yes, it's kind of a difficult needle to thread here to be someone who has a daily radio show that purportedly talks about politics, John Girardi Show, 6 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, right here on Power Talk. And to not have actually watched any of the RNC.
Well,
it's a thing I'm borderline proud of.
I will. I don't know. I will. I
that's
think
why
it's
I have
worth
you
watching.
on.
I'll put it that way.
That's why I have you on, Jonathan. I'm having you on to fill the gaps.
Well, last week's DNC, I will tell you, although in some areas the production quality was arguably better, which is not surprising when you have all of Hollywood at your side.
Sure.
I will say that I've actually been pleasantly surprised with this year's RNC. Mm-hmm. I can also say it's interesting because in the past, when it has just been a traditional convention and when it's been on normal network television, and I've never physically attended one. I've attended, I think, of the political conventions, I think I've attended maybe 2 California Republican Party conventions. And I must be honest, I've never been very impressed with political conventions because a lot of times they seem like a good excuse to drink way too much alcohol and do things you normally wouldn't do. That seems to be the primary purpose of
the California Republican.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if at the California Republican Convention, it's understandable. I mean, it's a coping mechanism for the enormous despair that's all around you.
And I've heard similar things about like the national RNC. No, don't get me wrong. There's some good things that happen, but like a lot of these things, once they become, if you have a small convention that's a couple hundred people, maybe a couple thousand, but when you get to these conventions that are like tens of thousands or 100,000 plus people, it's okay. Come on, it's just a little bit ridiculous,
right? Well, and it's also, I mean, so much of what the conventions do is sort of formalities.
Yes.
But I mean, look,
it's kind of
Donald Trump's
theater.
already got all the delegates. He's already the nominee.
Yep.
Joe Biden's already got all the delegates. He got the nominee.
Mike Pence is the VP.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that was very kind of funny that I did see people, Paul Begala of all people, the forehead. He was tweeting as recently as...
I love how we both immediately were like, the forehead!
He was tweeting during Nikki Haley's speech on Monday night.
Okay.
He said, "This is Nikki Haley's last pitch to President Trump to drop Mike Pence from the ticket and to add her on instead."
What a dope.
And
He's
not
going to drop her.
He was tweeting that
Mike Pence.
Non-ironically. He's like, no, guys, it's going to happen. I guarantee you. It's good. Like he was like pushing for
it.
Yeah, it was really funny. Well, so that didn't happen.
I haven't worked in politics my whole life, and I know that that's completely asinine. So that shows you what I think of the forehead.
Nikki Haley gave a great speech on Monday night, and Tim Scott gave a great speech on Monday night. They were both good. I'm saying this as, John, I think it'd be fair to say that, and again, folks, we're taking off the hats of our organizations here. We're just talking as private citizens. I think it'd be fair to say that generally, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but generally you and I have tended to vote fairly conservative in our lives, probably for more Republicans than Democrats. Is that fair to say?
Well, I don't know that I even want to tip my hat that way. This is a 501c3 compliant organization and a 501c3 compliant show. At any rate, we obviously take a bit more interest in the Republican primaries given the pro-life concerns.
And I'll tell you, that has been the very interesting thing, John, that I saw several people, our friends at Susan B. Anthony List, pointed out. It's a marked change from 2016.
Okay.
So in 2016, it was, I mean, there's always at least kind of a sop to pro-lifers at the RNC.
Sure.
But I can tell you in 2012, but especially in 2016, OMG. I mean, you had Cecile freaking Richards, the president of Planned Parenthood, spoke at the 2016 Democratic National Convention.
Right.
You had Elise Hogue, the president of NARAL, Pro-Choice America, who spoke at the 2016 Republican Convention.
Republican?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Democrat.
Democrat Convention.
Right.
The Democrat Convention in 2016 unsurprisingly, because of who their nominee was and what their party
Hillary.
platform is,
Right.
was heavy, like
Heavy on the
intense
abortion.
on the abortion.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, well, safely. It was like, no, we need to repeal the Hyde Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, put in a pro-choice majority on the Supreme Court.
Right.
It was all this type of stuff. And they weren't even hiding it. The
Right.
fact that you have the president of the largest abortion provider in the United States.
Yeah.
This year at the DNC, we talked about this a little bit last week, but this year,
nothing about abortion.
It was
very little.
It was almost mum's the word. Now, they mentioned there was one short video that they talked about, women's rights,
access.
Yeah, but it was very oblique in its references.
Okay.
And I did see, if you watch the video carefully, and if you are a politics nerd, Elise Hogue, the president of NARAL Pro-Choice America, was in that video.
But didn't actually give a speech. Right?
Alexis McGuinness, the new president of Planned Parenthood, who is 2 presidents past Cecile Richards.
Oh, okay. Is she's like the interim gal after they fired
she's the interim.
Dr. Leanna Wood? Okay.
She was also in the video. But the thing that I noticed, and I could be wrong on this, folks, so you can correct us in the comments, but neither of those women were identified by name or title in the video.
So it's interesting because, as we said last week, the Democrats had this challenge of having a very left-wing platform and a very left-wing package that they're selling people, particularly on abortion. But they're trying to give you that package with very moderate wrapping paper.
Yes.
Right? And that's what Joe Biden is really all about, I think. It's are you tired of the contentiousness of the Trump years? How about good old Joe Biden? Easygoing, friendly Joe Biden.
He's just a dad from Delaware.
Moderate Joe Biden.
That's right.
He changed his name legally from Joe Biden to moderate Democrat Joe Biden.
That's right.
To moderate Democrat Joe Biden. And which glosses over the fact that Biden himself was sort of coerced by the Democratic base to change his own positions on abortion to make them more radical in order to align more closely with the prevailing ultra-social left. And beyond that, to be open to things like repealing the filibuster in the Senate, which would be the procedural move to allow the Democrats to institute all kinds of radical changes that would impact abortion, including, stacking the Supreme Court, passing a New York-style abortion law for the whole country through the House and Senate and signed by the president. So that's the challenge that Biden has been facing is, and I think it's a smart move by the Democrats because that was the most effective thing Trump did during the debates in 2016 was to point out to Hillary Clinton that she supports third trimester abortions.
I personally think, again, just as a matter of commentary, I personally think that was the moment in which Trump won the debate because I remember as a longtime pro-life advocate watching President Trump say, look, I don't support this, but Hillary supports, you have, they ripped the baby in the ninth month.
From the womb. Yeah.
And even Hillary was like,
that's not right.
Yeah,
which it kind of is. Yeah, kind of is right.
I think in that moment, it really made a lot of people go, oh man, he's willing to say things that no one else is going to say. So similarly, this is the thing, John, that I think is an encouragement that it's not a commentary on what's actually going to happen in November.
Yeah, let's do the encouragement before I pour a bucket of ice water on this whole thing. I'm gearing up for it.
I can tell. Right. Here's the bit of encouragement. The bit of encouragement is while the Democratic convention dialed back the abortion
rhetoric.
They didn't dial it back in the platform, to clarify. They just dialed back the packaging, as you said.
Sure.
But on the flip side, there was a mini controversy that happened at the RNC this week, which was they decided, I don't know if you heard about this, they decided not to adopt an official party platform.
Yes, I'm going to talk about it.
Don't get me wrong, this made me very upset. It's mildly ridiculous, and I don't even, mildly might be too mild a word.
The one part about party conventions that isn't just a formality is the drafting and adoption of a platform, because and the platforms, those who don't know, it's a very long document. The Democratic platform for 2020 was 92 pages. So it's a long document that's basically a restatement of what the party believes on basically all of the relevant political topics of the day. And it's updated every 4 years at the National Convention because different things are changing throughout the world. And frankly, there are all kinds of things outside of the abortion issue that are really rapidly changing between China and policing and all kinds of stuff. And the Republicans just said, we're not going to adopt a platform.
It's going to be the president's America First agenda.
Right. And then they released instead this thing about here's President Trump's agenda. And it was a list of
50 bullet points.
It was like a list of 50 slogans. I won't give them the dignity of calling them policy proposals.
Yes.
Some of which are fine. Some of which are infuriatingly vague.
Yes.
None of which mentioned abortion. None of which mentioned defunding Planned Parenthood. None of which mentioned judges. None of which mentioned anything.
Yes.
There was no mention of any right to life issues, which was infuriating. Now, I'm not saying that I think the Republicans have abandoned the pro-life, plank of the platform, or that they wouldn't do that. I chalk it up to this is idiotic messaging on the part of the Trump campaign. This was obviously sloppily and hastily written by some campaign flunkies who obviously aren't very connected with the pro-life plank.
It was campaign malfeasance, I think, at best.
Yeah.
It was malpractice.
But I think it has been ameliorated by the kinds of speeches given at the RNC, which is bringing you to your point.
So that is the key point, John, and this is where it's very... I'm very conflicted about this because on the one hand, if you told me, hey, if I'm the Democrats, I say, look, we just got to hide this abortion extremism for a couple months. Don't worry. Yeah. It's going to be the same open door, just like during the Obama administration when Cecile Richards visited the White House almost 100 times and had private meetings with White House staff. Don't worry about it. That's all coming back. We just gotta keep it under wraps until November. On the flip side, because all the policies are there in the platform. On the flip side, the RNC is like, policies, schmolicies, we don't need that, whatever. But here's what we will give you. For the first time ever, we'll give you Abby Johnson, former Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year, director of the subject of the Unplanned movie, Right to Life hosted a screening.
Right.
She gave an amazing speech.
Yeah.
She gave a speech that was only 4 minutes long, but was jam-packed. She really practiced. You could tell she was polished. She had a great line that... It's one of the things that David Leiden told me several years ago that has always stuck with me. She said, look, abortion is personal for me. She goes, I know how it sounds. I know how it smells.
Right.
Did you even know abortion had a smell?
Right. That's pretty powerful. Yeah.
I think if a lot of people are watching that for the first time, they're going to, similar to that moment from President Trump in the debate, they're going to go, oh, wow, I never thought about that.
I know that. Yeah.
And that was immediately followed up. The very next speaker, they did it as like a almost a perfect montage. The next speaker was Nicholas Sandmann.
Yep.
The kid from Covington Catholic High School who was essentially canceled for his fact that he wore a MAGA hat.
Because he wore a MAGA hat and didn't really know how to react to a weird Native American guy who was banging a drum in his face. I say weird not because he was Native American. No. I say he was weird because he's a weird guy.
He was a professional protester and agitator who's been in the news multiple times before. But his speech was a little more stilted. I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid. But it was good. I mean, the commentary that he made, the message that he had was fantastic. And he specifically tied it into the fact that the whole reason he was in Washington, D.C. to begin with was for the March for Life.
Right.
And then on one of the other nights of the convention, you had this fantastic nun who was there. One of the most pro-life speeches, again, that I think I've ever heard at an actual convention. Right. It was really good.
And it's frustrating because... Here's the thing that I fear. We'll sort of end the segment on this. The Democrats have very moderate wrapping paper on a very pro-choice package. They've got their doctrine ready to go. They've got their policies ready to go. They've got everything is all set and ready to go. Meanwhile, Republicans have a super pro-life wrapping paper, and we're proposing no policies. That's the problem.
I know.
And there are now to continue the Trump policies of appointing good judges, to continue the Trump policies, to maintain the Trump policies on, the executive policies of, the Mexico City policy, all these different things. Of course, that's all good. But when we come back, I want to talk about some things that the administration could push for, should push for, and should push against. What the Trump administration could do, the kinds of doctrinal things I would like to see to get away just from pro-life wrapping paper and to give me something in a pro-life package. That's up next. This is Right to Life Radio, production of Right to Life of Central California, rtlcc.org. Back after the break. Fleetwood Mac here on Right to Life Radio. This is The Chain.
One of the best Marvel soundtrack songs.
Well, it was a good show.
Every time I hear this song, I just think of Chris Pratt and Kurt Russell duking it out in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Just for God's sake. Right to Life Radio. Right to Life Radio. Thank you so much for listening. The best bumper music. Well, it was the best until Jonathan ruined it in the greater Fresno area radio market. All right. We've been talking about the RNC and the DNC and comparing the two. And I think we sort of ended on this note of the DNC has a very moderate, basically put a very moderate package on their platform positions on abortion, which are actually very radical and left-wing. And their policy proposals of what they want to do, even procedurally, as far as eliminating the filibuster in the Senate, and which would allow them to do all kinds of things, to pack the Supreme Court, to pass a New York-style abortion law nationwide, to do all kinds of horrible things. The Republicans, meanwhile, have a very pro-life packaging. You know, they have Nicholas Sandmann speak, they have Abby Johnson speak, all this wonderful stuff, a lot of good pro-life speeches. And I'm not denying the importance of that. To have that be front and center means something. It's not totally meaningless. But nevertheless, not a lot of content. They didn't adopt a platform this year, the Republicans, which I think the excuses for it are baloney. If the Democrats can adopt a platform to, pledge their allegiance to unlimited abortion, there's no reason the Republicans can't do the same exact thing. They were claiming, the logistical difficulties of coronavirus. Well, get on a stinking Zoom call like everyone else and do the annoying thing and get a platform produced.
Yes.
Anyway.
Even if it's simple. I mean, if you want to make it those policy proposals, and you just literally for each one of those bullet points, you add one more paragraph.
Yeah. I mean, copy and paste what was in the 2016 platform, and then add a couple of extra things. Anyway, regardless. Basically, my fear is that the RNC was a very pro-life package with nothing inside. Because what practically are we going to do? Now, look, it seems likely that if Trump's reelected and we can maintain control, and the Republicans, rather, can maintain control of the Senate, that more good judges can be appointed. That's good. That's important. But what, practically speaking, new could the Trump administration do? And I have something that they could do, something that I've been banging the drum on for the entire duration of the Trump presidency. I think it was the chief pro-life failure. It's why when people say Trump is the most pro-life president of our lifetime, I kind of wince because this is the one fly in the ointment. This is the one area where the Trump administration has been less pro-life than the Bush administration that preceded it. And it's on the topic of embryo-destructive stem cell research, something very important for us in California. Okay, we're facing Proposition 14. Basically, the Trump administration inherited bad policies about federally funding embryonic stem cell research. Now, these are cells taken from a human embryo, stem cells that can replicate into all kinds of different things, very quickly subdivide, which researchers, at least in the early 2000s, really coveted. The Bush administration, George W. Bush, put in place policies prohibiting federal funding from embryonic stem cell research. The Obama administration flipped those policies to allow federal funding for embryonic stem cell research, and Trump came in office and never changed those policies. And he kept in office Dr. Francis Collins, who is the head of the Centers for Disease Control and a huge proponent of embryo-destructive stem cell research. He was like the one holdover from the Obama administration.
Which, John, remarkable to me, I have to tell you. I haven't shared this with you yet, but I saw an article a couple weeks ago that was touting him. It was from an evangelical publication that was touting his personal faith.
I hate this. Dr. Collins has somehow convinced everyone that he is this devout religious man. And it's like, I don't care how personally religious he is if publicly he's supporting the destruction of embryo. I mean, anyway. So here's the thing that President Trump can do. And President Trump can do this by himself. He doesn't need Congress. He doesn't need to pass a law. He doesn't need Nancy Pelosi to go along with it. This is a letter that has been sent to the president from pro-life leaders in Congress This is a joint letter written by Representative Andy Harris, Republican from Maryland, and Senator Roger Wicker, one of the Republican senators from Mississippi, who are seeking co-signers on a bicameral letter urging the Trump administration to issue an executive order banning federal funding of human embryonic stem cell research. Pro-life members in the Trump administration have taken several steps to limit federal funding for research using human fetal tissue, the body parts of babies from 2 months after conception until birth. This letter seeks to protect younger unborn babies. Embryonic stem cells are taken from unborn babies that are 3 to 5 days after conception. This is something that should be, this is why I think the Republicans should adopt a platform. To put stuff like this into the platform, to give the president an agenda for the next 4 years, or heck, for the remainder of his time in office right now. To say, hey, look, let's get the regulatory process going to ban funding for embryo-destructive stem cell research. All right, more on this after the break. This is Right to Life Radio, Power Talk 96.7, AM 1400, and the iHeartRadio app. Right to Life Radio. John Girardi, Jonathan Keller, and the Bee Gees. Barry Gibb, Robin Gibb.
I almost don't recognize them without that classic falsetto.
Oh, it's coming. There it is. Anyway, Right to Life Radio with the best music. Hey, get out of here, Bee Gees. Get out of here. We're tired of you guys. Get out of here. Yeah, they always pop up if you leave food around. Right to Life Radio, a production of Right to Life of Central California, RTLCC.org. Thank you so much for your support. Hey, if you want to support Right to Life, if you like this show, if you think this is worth $1, why don't you consider supporting Right to Life by going to RTLCC.org and clicking the 300 Club button up there at the top of the website. The 300 Club is a very simple way for you to support Right to Life of Central California by making a simple monthly $25 a month donation. 25 times 12 equals 300, hence the name, 300 Club. By
Simple
doing that,
enough.
if all of you in the sound of my voice would do that, we would basically never have to have another fundraiser again, and it would support our work throughout the whole year, our educational initiatives, all the stuff that we do at Right to Life of Central California, including this radio show. So if you like the radio show, support the 300 Club. RTLCC.org is the place to go for that. All right. Now, I've been talking about the RNC and the DNC and how the DNC is trying to present a very moderate wrapping paper, but inside the moderate wrapping paper is a very pro-choice gift, okay? Very pro-choice policies that are being pushed because the Democrats actually adopted a party platform, the restatement of all their party positions. The Republicans, meanwhile, didn't adopt a platform. But they had a couple of good speeches about abortion.
And to be fair, John, just to credit, they were probably the most, I've seen people say this, and it's probably true, they were probably the most explicitly, directly pro-life speeches I've ever heard at any political convention.
Yeah, which is true. And again, I'm not saying that the speeches are just fluff. They are indicative of something very important. Nevertheless, I'd like to see some policy proposals, okay? And here's one of the ways in which I'd like to see some policy proposals. So one of the big things that Democrats are going to do if they take the White House is through the FDA. And actually, I think, look, there's a lot of stuff Democrats could do if they win this election, if they take the Senate and they take the White House and hold on to the House. There's a lot of stuff they can do that I think shifts the abortion debate in this country in fundamental ways. We've talked about a lot of them. All right, we've talked about eliminating the filibuster in the Senate, how that could lead to the imposition of a New York-style abortion law over the whole country.
John, can you explain, when you say New York-style abortion law, just in case you have someone that's flipping through that dial.
Right. So New York in 2018 passed a law, basically revamped their whole law regulating abortion. And they changed it basically to make New York's abortion law line up perfectly with Roe v. Wade, to say that abortion would be Roe v. Wade and Doe versus Bolton, I should add, to say that abortion is legal through all 9 months of pregnancy for any reason. It decriminalized so-called criminal abortion, which still existed as a crime in New York even recently. Basically, if you beat up a pregnant woman and cause her to miscarry, that was a crime called criminal abortion. It had special criminal penalties for it. That eliminated that. The New York bill eliminated that crime. So basically, if you beat up a woman who's pregnant and cause her to miscarry, you're just charged with, simple battery. So they did that. They also removed certain protections for unborn children who survive a third trimester abortion, protections for them to receive, the same level of care as any other kid. The New York the New York abortion law is basically protection in the event that Roe v. Wade ever gets overturned. Okay, so if Roe v. Wade gets overturned tomorrow, nothing's going to change in New York because they've adopted this statute, and that statute would still hold. Basically, if Roe v. Wade's overturned, it would basically allow each state to set their own abortion laws, and nothing would change in New York. What the Democrats would like to do is to pass a New York-style abortion law in Congress, a New York-style abortion law at the federal level to impact the whole country. This would override all of the good pro-life laws that various states have passed to limit abortion in various ways, whether it's parental consent, parental notification laws, certain kinds of informed consent laws, certain kinds of health and safety laws. To pass this law at a national level would basically blot out all of the state-level laws that have been passed on abortion. And it would make our country immune to a changing of Roe v. Wade, okay? Because even if Roe v. Wade is overturned, to allow state governments or to allow state governments or the federal government to make abortion laws, we'll still have this statute on the books saying that abortion has to be regulated a certain way. So it would be a humongous disaster if that were to happen. So the left wants to do that.
And John, they want to clarify, I got to say.
Yeah.
It's not just the left, because when a lot of times our friends on both sides of the aisle will get into debates, and one of the things that you hear about the left is they say, look, Joe Biden is his own man. He's not beholden to the radical left. That's why Joe Biden beat Bernie Sanders. The Democrat primary voters rejected AOC and Bernie, and they went with,
moderate Joe Biden.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe Biden from Delaware. Well, I'm sorry. Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris as his running mate. As a reminder, John.
And by the way, AOC and Bernie are only to the left of Biden on economic issues.
Right.
On social issues, there's no daylight.
Yes.
Okay. So,
there's a new video, John, on that note that just came out of Biden from a speech in China.
Right. Where he's talking about China. He's in China talking with Chinese officials at a press conference and mentions their one-child policy and says, "Oh, well, which you have adopted your one-child.
I don't object to
which I am not second-guessing your one-child policy here in China." This horrific human rights abuse.
So, in the case of Kamala Harris, who was Joe Biden's running mate, remember, we've talked about this in past shows. She essentially advocated a proposal that would not only one time pass a law like this, but would effectively preempt any other
Any state law, yeah.
and it would say, look, my Justice Department is not even. I mean, we're going to immediately challenge those laws. They're not even going to be allowed to go into effect.
Right. Basically, she wants to set up a system at the federal level where any state known for, quote, infringing on women's reproductive health, by which she just means any red state that has pro-life leadership, basically, she wants to have the Justice Department review any laws they pass regarding abortion, preemptively review them for their constitutionality. So the Democrats want to pass New York-style abortion law nationally, which would have a profound impact on the abortion debate in this country. They want to pack the Supreme Court. Again, an unbelievably profound impact on the abortion debate in this country. Here's another thing that's sort of overlooked, where I think the Trump administration could maybe try and do something. The FDA, as Joe Biden's chief medical advisor is Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel. He's the brother of Rahm Emanuel, the former mayor of Chicago, former Obama chief of staff. Ezekiel Emanuel is one of the most influential people at the nexus of medicine and public policy. He helped write Obamacare and is a huge pro-choice advocate. He wants to abolish every state law that provides conscience protections for doctors and hospitals, including religious hospitals or religious doctors that don't want to perform abortion for religious or ethical reasons. He wants to do all kinds of things. One of the main things he's been pushing for, that Dr. Daniel Grossman from UCSF has been pushing for, one of the leading pro-choice advocates in California, is to deregulate medication abortion. I think this would be, if that happens, maybe one of the most significant things ever to happen to abortion in America. And I'll tell you why. Medication abortion, or abortion via pill, all right, is a process where you take a pill to induce an abortion in the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. The rules regulating this medication from the FDA require that for the first pill, you have to go into a clinic to take it. Okay, so which is a kind of a serious barrier to entry, or it is not a serious barrier to entry, but is a kind of barrier to entry. Okay, you have to get in a car, you have to make an appointment, you have to drive somewhere. You have to have an abortion clinic nearby in some way, shape, or form in order to access it. And this is what the pro-choice side means when they talk about access, abortion access, abortion access. The left has, as a huge public policy priority, to eliminate those FDA guidelines surrounding RU-486, mifepristone, abortion via pill. They want to eliminate that regulation. And if they do, here's how abortion will happen in America. Here's where abortion will happen in America. Right here on a smartphone. I'm waving my smartphone for those of you not watching on YouTube Live. By the way, you can watch this on YouTube. Just look for Life Report on YouTube, and we're right there. Here's how abortion will happen. A woman will take a pregnancy test. She'll find out she's pregnant. She'll get out her phone. She'll Google Planned Parenthood. She'll get the Planned Parenthood Direct app. She'll chat through the app, through a HIPAA-secured server with a Planned Parenthood nurse practitioner. She'll get a prescription for medication abortion right there through the app. And then, if the FDA deregulates medication abortion, which I'm sure they will do as soon as Joe Biden gets into office, then those abortion pills will be mailed to that woman's house. This will make abortion as universally accessible as an Amazon Prime package.
And John, less people say, "Oh, well, come on, abortion's it's an intensely personal decision. They're going to want to talk with a doctor face to face." No, already there was an article in the New York Times last year from Farhad Manjoo, where he was doing an investigative study and saying, I keep hearing about these abortion pills being ordered from China or India or Canada.
So he ordered basically illegal abortion pills, got them mailed to his house.
No verification.
Right.
One person asked doctor questions, but in most cases, he was able to just get them.
As a dude.
Yeah. And if that's what you're able to do already.
Illegally.
A lot of people, to be fair, will say, I'm a little uncomfortable with taking illegal medication.
Yeah, exactly. From China. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be laced with fentanyl.
Who knows?
But in this case, if it is legal, It's over the counter. It must be safe.
Planned Parenthood is dying to make this happen. Planned Parenthood's dying to make this happen. NARAL's dying to make this happen. All of Biden's chief medical advisors, including Ezekiel Emanuel, dying to make this happen. You know why? Because it makes abortion universally accessible. If you tie that with public health insurance programs, it makes abortion universally accessible. You can get abortion. It doesn't matter where you live. All right? Pro-life states can try all they want to pass laws saying that abortion doctors have to have admitting privileges at a hospital within 30-mile radius. That won't matter anymore. You can get an abortion anywhere, anytime, with the same ease that you order, a cell phone case. Okay, my wife got me. My cell phone case was breaking. My wife bought me this cell phone case. Got there in 2 days with Amazon Prime. That's how easy it'll be. And they'll be able to talk with a doctor about it because they'll have telemedicine. They'll get abortion. This will be the new abortion clinic. Planned Parenthood will be crowing about, Planned Parenthood's shutting down all their abortion clinics. Yeah, they'll shut down their abortion clinics because they won't need them anymore.
Yep.
As long as they have this, they don't need brick and mortar facilities or employees. They'll just have those be loss leaders where they hand out contraception. And all of the abortions in this country will take place right here. So, I want to ask the Trump administration, is there something you could do to combat that? That's the thing I hate, is that the ratchet goes one way.
Yep.
The Clinton administration, in the dying lame duck months of the Clinton administration, the Clinton FDA rushed to approve medication abortion via pill, RU-486. The FDA under the Clinton administration approved it. Did the George W. Bush administration reverse that? No, it didn't. It stayed around. The Obama administration loosens up rules. And that's my fear, is that this ratchet will only go one way. If Biden is elected, that will immediately happen, and it will radically transform the picture of what abortion looks like in this country. That's what's going to happen. And it's terrifying, because I think it will make abortion so much more common. It will happen so much more. It will make it so much easier and more user-friendly for a millennial generation that hates making phone calls and driving to appointments, but is very happy to download an app and send text messages in order to get health care. We'll be back with closing thoughts on the Right to Life radio program. This is the Eagles on Right to Life Radio. You can't hide your lion eyes, Jonathan Keller.
That's true.
I didn't really have a follow-up joke there. This is bad radio.
Hey, I do have an announcement for you, though.
You do?
I do. Because I'm tired of feeling guilty.
Okay.
I'm tired of feeling shame every time I come into this office.
Okay.
When you sit down and you
as I'm about to do.
You read the names of those people that have joined the 300 Club, and I just hide my head and cower over here in the corner.
Jonathan Keller.
I've remedied that issue.
Jonathan Keller.
During the show today.
The newest 300 Club member. Thank you, Jonathan.
My wife, Julie, and I are now monthly supporters of Right to Life Central California.
$25 a month.
There
way
you
to
go,
go, Jonathan. The 300 Club, by the way, for those who don't know, is a simple way you can support Right to Life of Central California by giving us $300 a year, $25 a month. You can sign up for it at rtlcc.org.
Super easy, folks.
The 300 Club button is right there at the top. And this will help. If everyone listening to this show would support the 300 Club, we'd basically never need to do another fundraiser again. It would support all of our educational initiatives, our classroom work, we're doing all these COVID-safe classroom presentations for different schools. So I'm going to read off some of the people who've joined us. St. Agnes Medical Center. Hey, thank you, St. Agnes. Cameron and Brittany Sanders. Brittany. Love Brittany. Love Cameron, too. Patricia Santi. I love Brittany more, sorry. Cheryl Sarkeesian. I'm sure he does, too. Cheryl Sarkeesian. Jeff and Wanda Savage. Jeff and Sherilyn Schmiedier. Francis and Maria Schmidt. Illa Schuttler. Mark Schwarm. I'm in the S's, so, deal with it. Marlita Faria and John Semper. Stephen and Judy Shabazian, Martha Slavin, John and Donna Sloan, Marilyn Sniffen, Stephen Socha, John and Marie Souza, Richard and Karen Spencer. Hey, love the Spencers. Jeff and Katie Sperling, Timothy Springer, James and Linda Stacer, Mark Storelli. Mark Storelli. I haven't seen Mark Storelli since I was in 6th grade when we were at OLPH together. So thanks, funny. Mark. Good to hear from you. Larry and Monica Stromby, Edward and Linda Taglioni, James Tazy, brother of Bernadette Tazy, and a seminarian for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Fresno. The Angela and Luth Lavagnino Family Trust, Eric and Elaine Thompson, Maria Torres, Carl Euland. Love Carl. Carl went to a Notre Dame football game, stayed at my parents' condo there.
Oh, fun.
In South Bend. Craig Ulrichi, Eva Vaverka, Jerry Velasquez, Susan Venturi Capilouti, David and Marilyn Vieira, Guadalupe Villegas, Mitch Wall, Mary Wallace, Greg and Lynn Warmerdam, Barry Warmerdam, all the flying Warmerdams are there. Chrissy Winslow, Robert Wirtz and Anna Cruz, Robert Zanoni, William and Sharon Carrasco. Thank you all so much. And Jonathan and Julia Keller. Thank you all so much for your support of this program, but more broadly of Right to Life of Central California and all its important work. Well, Jonathan, with the RNC sort of concluding, as winding up this week, as we've said, it's my fear throughout has been that this is it's a lot of pro-life wrapping paper, but not a ton of pro-life substance as far as policy proposals. And I'm voting a lot. There's a lot of fear that I have about what the Democrats might do if they win, as it relates to the abortion side. And it's not to say that some really good things can't happen coming out of this election, okay? There's a lot on the line as it relates to pro-life stuff. Things can either fall or advance in a really positive way. Let's not forget, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 87 years old, I believe.
Things could shift quickly.
quickly.
To quote
Stephen Breyer, 82 years old.
To quote or to paraphrase, I'm going to butcher it, Lady Galadriel, the quest is on the edge of a knife.
Exactly. It is. It really is. I hate the thing that talk radio people do where every single election they say, this is the most important election of my lifetime. The most important election of all of our lifetimes. The most important. And every 4 years.
Or you could be Charlie Kirk and you could just say, it's the most important since 1860. Which is what he said that's what he said is the opening of the convention.
All right. let's leave out our commentary on Charlie Kirk for now. But it is really important. All right. Our public policy decisions that we make, a lot of pro-lifers will say this. It's important. What's important isn't politics. What's important is changing people's hearts and minds. Changing politics changes hearts and minds.
Yep.
What is legal profoundly impacts hearts and minds. If abortion were illegal right now, do you think California public schools would be educating young people about what their legal rights are to get abortion? Telling young people that they can get abortion without their parents' consent, without their parents' notification? No. Okay? Public morality is heavily shaped by law. Heavily shaped. And if we don't grasp that and pursue the power to make these positive changes while we can, we're going to miss out. The left understands this very well. The pro-choice side has understood this very well. They don't care that they, foisted abortion upon us through very anti-democratic means of getting the Supreme Court to just do it for them. They get it. So we need to do our part to make sure that we don't blow opportunities during election cycles. Anyway, how's that for a 501c3 compliant way to encourage people to vote and vote pro-life? There we go. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be played out by Dean Martin. When the moon hits your eye, like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Thank you so much. This has been Right to Life Radio.